गुड आफ्टरनून और आप सभी को नमस्कार और कैसे हैं मिजाज आपके एवरीबडी वेलकम टू दिस historical reflection and every Saturday we come and we discuss very profound topics from the past and today and this series we are discussing our independence movement and to discuss this we have a prominent historian from India, Mrs. Meeta Joshi. So before we go forward and discuss about the topic which we are discussing today, let us welcome Mrs. Meeta Joshi. So welcome Mrs. Meeta Joshi. How are you doing today?
Namaskar, Kanchan. I am fine. How are you?
I am fine, and every Sunday actually I look forward to meet you to discuss those interesting topic, and this is all historical reflection. I'm sure our audience they also wait and they want to know more about some of the prominent incident which happened in the past, and definitely all those history makes us what we are today. So today we are discussing to our viewers, I will just want to tell them that today we are discussing about home rule. So before going forward, I would like to ask you, madam, that what do you what is a home rule and how it started?
Okay, Kanchan. As the name suggests, home rule means Swaraj. Swaraj means self-rule. So this was a time when the Indian people, they really thought that it is high time that India should be ruled by Indians. And in this process, two people, Lokmanya Bal Gangadhar Tilak and Annie Besant, they set up two Home Rule Leagues in 1916. And if we see the backdrop of it, because that time India has just come out from the activities of the Gadar revolutionaries, and which was the effect of the First World War. So now this home rule movement was not so adventurous but more effective if we ask or see the effect of the home rule movement. So it really sparked the Indian national movement in the right chord. So Lokmanya Bal Gangadhar Tilak, he was imprisoned, and in 1914, on 16 June, he came back to India after serving 6 years sentence in Mandalay jail, Burma. And at the time when he arrived in India, the firebrand of Swadeshi, Aurobindo Ghosh, whom we know better as Sri Aurobindo, he took sannyasa and he settled down in Pondicherry. Okay. And that time, Lala Lajpat Rai also was away in United States of America. So when Tilak arrived in India in 1914 AD, he first observed that Congress was still recovering from the Surat split, which happened in 1907 AD. And then he thought that he should request readmission into the Indian National Congress and start his activities. So he approached the leaders of the Indian National Congress saying that I'm going to start this movement, which is known as Home Rule Movement, as the name suggests, self-rule, Swaraj. And it was Lokmanya Bal Gangadhar Tilak who gave us the slogan, स्वराज मेरा अधिकार है और मैं इसे लेकर रहूंगा. Swaraj is my birthright and I shall have it. We shall have it. So with this chord, the home rule movement was initiated by Lokmanya Bal Gangadhar Tilak, and he initially got printed some pamphlets in 6 different regional languages and in two in English, and 47,000 copies of those pamphlets were purchased by people. And the pamphlet was all about the meaning of home rule and what were the advantages if Indians got the home rule from the Britishers. So when um Lokmanya Bal Gangadhar Tilak, he started this home rule movement. Simultaneously, Mrs. Annie Besant, who was a very active member of Theosophical Society, she started another home rule league along with George Arundel in Adyar, Madras, and they came to a common understanding like Maharashtra was for Bal Gangadhar Tilak, and some parts of Karnataka, some parts of Uttar Pradesh, rest of the India, he said, he told Annie Besant to manage. So Annie Besant and George Arundel, they also started enrolling people in the Home Rule League. But if we compare the these two Home Rule leagues, Tilak's Home Rule League by March, by March 1916, there were 14,000 members who enrolled in the Home Rule League, whereas in Mrs. Annie Besant's Home Rule League, 7,000 people they enrolled. So both were working in their own pace and effort, and with the Home Rule League, they wanted to convey this to the Britishers as well as the Indians that an Indian government which is governed by Indian people would be able to solve the problems of the present scenario of India rather than the Britishers ruling it. So that was the essence of the home rule movement, and it became very famous at that time because Tilak, he started having lot of public meetings, and in those meetings he conveyed his idea of Swaraj, that was self rule, and other Congress leaders also supported him. Tilak was an extremist, just to
Hmm.
remind you, but many moderates, they also joined and they enrolled
Right.
in the Home Rule movement. Same way, Annie Besant and George Arundel, way back in Adyar, Madras, they also were working day and night to, enroll more people into the Home Rule League, collect some funds for the functioning, and both were working with equal zeal and vigor. So this is how the home rule movement started.
Okay, so when we're talking about home rule and we're talking about Gangadhar Tilak, and he definitely, when you have mentioned Swaraj Mera Adhikar hai, I must have it, I shall have it. It's a very powerful statement. It's very powerful. That was definitely a very what we performed that actually made people at that point of time to pursue this home rule concept, as well as even today this resonate very powerfully even today when we are already independent. But now I want to know how all this actually I want our audience to know about Gangadhar Tilak more, and his contribution. That's a biggest and immense contribution when we are talking about home rule. But there's one aspect where I have read that he also started Ganesh Puja to give collectivity and traditional, enhancing the traditional culture of India, so that it creates a profound impact to the Indians, and of course that opposite impact to Britishers. It's kind of rekindling the kind of nationalism or nationalistic movement. Or how you will want to portray Bal Gangadhar Tilak in that manner, in this way?
See, Kanchan, Lokmanya Bal Gangadhar Tilak, a very effective leader, number one. Number two, a very, firebrand type of a man when it came to ideas and ideologies.
Right.
So
Right.
he was the one who also revived all the festivals like Ganesh festival in Mumbai that time, Shivaji festival, so that
Mm.
the Indians also remember their own culture and heritage.
Right.
Plus, he wrote very extensively in the newspapers, and that time there were Annie Besant. She was taking out two newspapers known as New India and Commonweal, and apart from them, Jamna Das, Dwarka Das, Indu Nayak, Indulal Yagnik, Shankar Lal Banker, they started a Bombay paper known as Young India and launched an all India propaganda for the Home Rule movement. So it was not only Tilak, but the people who were involved, together in the Home Rule movement. It was a cumulative effort.
Right. So when we talk about, definitely, like any satyagraha or or assault law abolition, all kind of Indian leaders have taken a lead and have done contributed in this the cause of independence. How you will actually rate when we see other movements for independence, which started by Gandhiji, which started by many other leaders, how it contributed into this struggle, which is freedom struggle. We want Swaraj. That's, as I told you, it's quite powerful. But when you say how much it has contributed in getting freedom from Britishers.
See, if we evaluate the Home Rule movement, it uh, the tremendous achievement of this movement and its legacy was that it created a generation of ardent nationalists who formed the backbone of the Indian national movement. So that was the biggest achievement of the Home Rule movement. Then slowly, because Mahatma Gandhi already appeared in the Indian national politics by that time, because the Champaran movement was led by Mahatma Gandhi in 1917 in Bihar. So he was already creating waves. But the real platform for the entire independence movement was set up by Bal Gangadhar Tilak and Annie Besant.
Okay, so now when we have already talked about the Bal Gangadhar, how important was home rule, which is started by Annie Besant? I mean, how you can actually compare the both movement, and what was the impact of especially the Annie Besant home rule, and why it was started by Annie Besant?
See, we cannot really compare the both movements, Kanchan, because they both started with the same backdrop. They both were demanding self rule or Swaraj. The only difference which we can make between Tilak's Home Rule League and any Besant's Home Rule League was Tilak was an Indian, so he understood the psychology of Indian people better than in Annie Besant. So and because see this is a very big factor because she was a foreigner, though she
Hmm.
was a completely Indianized foreigner. She wore Indian attire. She adopted all the rituals which are given in our Vedas, because Theosophical Society actually worked to revive the Vedas that time.
Okay.
So
Okay.
that way she was equally effective. Only thing was because Annie Besant's Home Rule League could not influence a larger number of population than what Tilak did. Because Tilak worked in Maharashtra, he worked in Berar, he worked in parts of Madhya Pradesh and Uttar Pradesh. So that way he was able to communicate to a population which was more connected to Delhi, because Delhi was the capital, and all the movements which happened during this course of time. So because Delhi was the main center, people who were more connected to the center were the people who were initiating the things more and more. And Annie Besant was sitting in Madras, down south. So she was able to influence people more in South India and adjacent states than the
Okay.
entire country.
Okay, okay. So, one last question I just want to ask you about home rule. For hypothetically, if home rule was not there, and already Mahatma Gandhi was already started a very prominent, very strong movement, satyagrahas, many type of satyagrahas. So, what would have been the impact without an home rule, or how a home rule has contributed? If you can discuss in percentage also, that is also fine. But if it was not there, then what would have been the situation?
If this home rule movement wasn't there, then the idea of Swaraj would have come
Okay.
little late to the Indian
Hmm.
minds.
Okay.
Okay, so it was
Hmm.
Tilak's efforts, untiring efforts, and Mrs. Annie Besant's efforts, which really gave this idea of Swaraj or self rule to people. Though, see, Gandhi's ideology was little different. He was into satyagrah, non-violent, non-violent approach. But this, and he was from the moderate section of the Congress, Mahatma Gandhi ji. Tilak was from the extremist group, and
Hmm.
he knew that until and unless you put too much of pressures on the Britishers, they are not
Hmm.
going to leave our country.
Right.
He understood it very well. So
Right.
and see, when Mahatma Gandhi came into the Indian political scenario, he started with various movements. Number one, Champaran, then
Hmm.
Ahmedabad and Kheda.
Hmm.
From
Right.
1917 to 1919, like there were three consecutive movements which were
Hmm.
satyagrah movements which were organized and
Hmm.
led by Mahatma Gandhi ji. But
Hmm.
the theme was satyagrah. But
Hmm.
here the theme was self rule, home rule.
Right. Right.
And the home rule people only have set the stage for
Hmm.
those moderates like
Hmm.
Mahatma Gandhi ji, Firoz Shah
Hmm.
Mehta, so that they go forward. And now with the new ideology of Satyagrah, they take the Indian national movement forward.
Hmm. Okay, so definitely home rule remained a very prominent, one of the most prominent, because it talks about nationalism, it talks about self-rule, and definitely that has a greater impact than other. I'm not comparing, but still, it actually kind of started very fast to the idea to get a home rule. That is something which has established by Bal Gangadhar Tilak, Lokmanya Bal Gangadhar Tilak. So, any last point you want to add on this historical reflection?
I just can convey this to the people who are watching this country, that I tell it again and again, that we should be very very grateful to all those leaders, to all those unheard and unsung heroes who
Right.
gave up their lives, who
Hmm.
sacrificed their everything,
Right.
families, their own lives,
Right.
their property, money.
Hmm.
They
Hmm.
had a type of a passion, or in
Hmm.
Hindi or Urdu, I use this word junoon.
Hmm.
They had this,
Right.
passion that
Hmm.
either the situation had come to a point that Mahatma Gandhi gave this slogan in 1942 in Quit India movement, "Karo ya maro," do or die. But
Right.
extremist ideology was this from the very beginning.
Right.
They understood that they are not going to, the Britishers are not going to listen to us by prayer, petition and protest. So we
Right.
have to do something extra
Okay.
so that it goes in their minds that you have
Right.
to leave this country.
Right.
So
Right.
it was, these people, Bal Gangadhar Tilak, and because that this trio was there, Bal, Pal, Lal, Lala Lajpat Rai, Bal Gangadhar Tilak, and Bipin Chandra Pal, and various other leaders, of course. So those people, they gave their heart and soul to the Indian national movement, and because of them only we are living in a free country. We are breathing a free and fresh
Right.
air.
Right.
We are free to do anything, whatever we want. So it is only because of their sacrifices and their efforts. So please
Right.
be grateful.
Yes, definitely, especially the young generation who actually, and also the history students. I think this is one topic where they should be doing research, and they should be actually, if some history student want to take up history as a subject later on in their career, I think if that is one subject which I am just suggesting they should do a PhD on that. I should understand so that they are able to give more profound information to other people also. But definitely, this is quite an important subject when we talk about Indian freedom struggle. And thanks for taking up this subject today. And I'm sure our audience must have got the knowledge and how important it was and we should be very thankful to Lokmanya Bal Gangadhar Tilak, because he is the leader of home rule, which is kind of, जैसे आपने मुझे बोला, it is garam dal. And I think with force, sometimes we have to use force, and that is what is being used in home rule. So thank you very much for taking up this subject. We'll be meeting again in historical reflection, and as usual, see you, bye bye, and thank you very much.
Thank you, Kanchan.
So today we have discussed a very important aspect of freedom struggle, which is home rule, because home rule is one thing which everybody wants, in which everybody wants the freedom to take the decision to live freely, because we are born free, and that is what the concept of home rule established by great leaders. So all the best, and I would like to send your comments. I will also like you to, if you have any questions regarding home rule, please go ahead, and you can put even after closure of this live stream, because our expert will definitely give you answers. So all the best. See you again on Saturday with a very important and profound subject. Till then, bye bye and see you.